Middle East has a huge problem, and that problem is modern day slavery. Okay, so I made that video talking about how there's modern day slavery going on in the Middle East, and I was just bombarded with people from Saudi, UAE, Qatar, talking about how that's not true and I'm spreading misinformation. So now I'm gonna actually bring up the receipts.
Welcome back to the channel, my people. I do hope that from wherever you are watching this from, you are doing all right. Hopefully God has protected you and preserved you very well. Thank you to all of you that keep supporting me on here. Big shout out to my members. You guys do me amazing, and I do appreciate you guys so very much. Everybody that really does something on this channel, you guys are highly appreciated. We have a brother in here that decided to, spill the tea on his people and of how they are keeping slaves. And he talked about Middle East, and his people were not happy about it. But he was like, you know what? I'm ready to speak the truth. Whether you are trying to cover it up, I'm gonna say it anyway. We have to listen to some of his videos and maybe a few incorporations of more others. And we'll come back and talk about it. Just do me a favor, like the video. Don't forget to share, subscribe, and yeah, I'll be back.
The Middle East has a huge problem, and that problem is modern day slavery. And this is all done legally through something called the Kafala system. Millions of South Asian workers come to the Gulf countries looking for jobs, and then they realize after they get the jobs, their boss basically owns them. Their boss controls their visa, controls their passport, they can't switch jobs without their permission, they can't leave the country without their permission. And it's not like these are good jobs, these are low-wage, low-skilled jobs like fast food employees, mall cleaners, stuff like that. Oftentimes, these workers are working very long hours with very low wage. During the World Cup in Qatar in 2022, hundreds, if not thousands, of these migrant workers died because they were working in extremely harsh conditions under the extremely harsh Middle Eastern sun. I just came back from Qatar a few days ago and I saw it firsthand for myself. At the airport, at the hotel, at the mall, these workers are getting abused. And through all that, through my limited interactions with them, they're honestly some of the nicest and sweetest people I've ever met. And you know, as Arabs, we like to criticize America and Israel and the West for all the evil stuff they do. And yes, they are evil, but we have to own up to our mistakes too. The kafala system needs to be hugely reformed, and these low-wage, harsh jobs need to stop. The Middle East has a huge problem, and that problem is modern-day slavery. Okay, so I made that video talking about how there's modern-day slavery going on in the Middle East, and I was just bombarded with people from Saudi, UAE, Qatar, talking about how that's not true and I'm spreading misinformation. So now I'm going to actually bring up the receipts. A Kenyan woman by the name of Bajeni Mwangi came to Saudi expecting to work as a beautician, but the moment she got in Saudi, her contract was changed and she worked 17 months for free with no pay. She was forced into domestic servitude and often worked hours and hours with no food and very harsh conditions. After the 17 months of being in Saudi for free, working completely for free, she was sent home and still never received any funds. So not only was her contract changed the moment she got there, the job was changed. It was not what they promised her, and they did not pay her at all for 17 months. That's a year and a half. And for those of you that say I'm only talking about the Gulf countries and I'm biased, here's an example from Lebanon. In December 2024, AP News reported on Assata Ba, a 24-year-old from Sierra Leone that was trapped in Beirut. She was promised a supermarket job with $200 a month pay, but when she got there, they completely changed the job to where she would care for an elderly woman. She worked in extremely abusive conditions, and when she tried fleeing with other migrants, things were done to her that I don't think I can even say on TikTok. So for all of you that are from these countries, I suggest doing your own research and stop supporting your government blindly.
We don't talk enough about the Kafala system that happens in the United Arab Emirates. It's a system that essentially legitimizes modern-day slavery. Impoverished individuals from Pakistan, Bangladesh, and certain areas of Africa come to the UAE in search for work to send back to their home countries and families. Later find out that it is a system that traps them, subjected to inhumane conditions, treatment, essentially slavery. It traps individuals into debt that they were not made aware of, and they cannot leave their employer until they pay off that debt. A lot of men are in construction and they are subject to extremely long hours in extremely inhumane conditions in the blistering Arab heat. Women are subject to domestic servitude. There have been reports of women being tortured in the homes of Arab households. There is a glamorization of Dubai. A lot of people that I know work there. They're treated well as UK expats. Girl, you is an immigrant. Sadly, those from our ancestral homelands are not treated so well. I remember reading an interview with a construction worker and he said, we build these beautiful, majestic buildings, but we will never afford to be able to step into them. These people are underpaid, overworked, and housed in inhumane conditions, yet their stories are buried. It's really sad.
So this girl posted a TikTok 2 days ago. When you
And she's right, and there's a huge lack of awareness of the modern day slavery that's going on in the majority of the Arab Gulf countries. The ugly truth, Dubai, Qatar, and majority of the Gulf countries are trying to hide from the world the fact that their cities are built by the migrant workers. And those workers get treated worse than animals. The fact those workers get lured into these places in the name of work, but once they get there, their passports are taken away, their basic human rights are taken away. Your government shuts down the tourist attraction while the excessive heat of the desert, but they expect the workers to continue working. And if they refuse to work, it will lead to deportation or even worse is jail. Now, unsurprisingly, 2 migrant workers are committing suicide every single week. Behind the dazzling exteriors and skyscrapers lies the heartbreaking stories of migrant workers. And you guys never take accountability, nor do you guys even admit that these sort of things are happening. There is legit proof with evidence, so don't try to hide the fact. In fact,
modern slavery. It's modern slavery. People think that the pyramids and now is like different, but you're no different than the slaves that built the pyramid. I'm from Egypt. Take it from me. All you're doing is, instead of the boss providing you with food and drink and a house and maybe a vacation once a day, all they do is just they added something in the middle called money, and they just give you some money that's enough to do what? Have food, barely have a shelter, and maybe take a couple weekends off. That's it. Modern slavery. Anyone who doesn't understand that, wake up, bro.
African migrants fleeing their country for different reasons like conflict, poverty are being sold like property. And this is as a result of the lack of effective governance in Libya that created, an environment where exploitation thrives. And as most of us know, Libya's location makes it a key transit point for migrants and refugees from sub-Saharan Africa trying to reach Europe. And this country where the dehumanization is taking place has a history of slavery till today. Isn't it so weird to hear about slavery markets in our time? I mean, we are in 2025. This issue needs attention from decision makers here in Africa. Plus, several African nations have adopted anti-slavery laws and policies, but the real challenge lies in their enforcement. So victim protection must be prioritized.
I just saw a video that really reminded me why I look at people sideways that want to go to Dubai or have been to Dubai. Dubai is ran off of slavery. Most of the people there are migrants. Like, the country is, I think only 20% of that country is actually like native. The rest of it is like, it's migrants, okay? And they work in like the construction field, the service industry, hospitality, and they got there under false pretenses. So agencies will go to countries like India, Bangladesh, Kenya, Pakistan, and say, hey, if you come over here to Dubai, I'm going to pay you twice as much as you make at home, 3 times as much as you make at home. I will get you a work visa. You can send money back home. You'll live like a good life here. They get to the country. Their visas are taken from them. Their passports are taken from them. I'm sorry. And they basically live in a labor camp. They either have to come up with the money themselves to even get there first, or they are sponsored. Then they are indebted to the quote agency that got them there to pay back the money. They are also told, hey, we were going to pay you X amount of money, but actually we're not. So they're not making nearly as much as they thought. And they're working in a desert. They don't have their passport because, like I said, it was taken from them. So they can't get back home. And they do not get exit visas, which means they can't just leave. And you're not just going to sit there and walk out, because Dubai is in the middle of a desert. Who is walking across a desert that gets about like 120 degrees? You're not going to survive. So you're working like it's slavery. And they spend the night in labor camps. Like, they cannot afford to live in like an apartment. They live in the slums. So I'm like, when you go to a restaurant in Dubai, when you go to the bar, you're not being served by like a middle class working person. You're being served by an indentured servant, a slave. The nice buildings that Dubai has, slavery. Okay, people died. I think I read a stat once that was like about 10 people die a week outside doing construction to get those buildings up. I will not be stepping foot in the UAE. No, thank you.
Have you ever been to any Middle Eastern country in a shopping mall and you find one Arab family, man, wife and kids, walking in a mall, but if you look around them, you will see somebody wearing this type of uniform following them around? Now this is a khadama. A khadama is also known as a maid or a house help. These people, they cook food, clean the babies, and do all types of work in the house, and in the end, they get paid pennies. But what is so heartbreaking is they wear this uniform even in public. As a matter of fact, if you see one Arab family walking around, just look behind them. There would be a Filipino woman or an African woman wearing this type of uniform, running around with a baby stroller. This is a maid. Now I'm going to tell you how they treat these people in Middle East. Not all of them treated like this. Did you know that in Middle Eastern countries, maids are bought like property? You walk up to a place where they're being sold, look through, choose the one that you want, and pay, and then take her home to do whatever you want. So, did you know that these maids actually, when they reach to their boss's house, they're not allowed to quit the job? They're not allowed to escape, and if they escape because they don't agree to the terms and conditions, they get arrested and thrown in jail or else sent back to their house to keep working against their own will. In fact, anyone that helps these maids escape from the torture or any mistreatment in the house of their boss, he or she gets arrested too. Now, by the end of September, about 89 Kenyan domestic workers had died mysteriously in Saudi Arabia. It is alleged that most of them were tortured and killed by their bosses. In 2021, only 8 months, 48 Ugandans in Middle East had died under unknown circumstances. In the same year, 89 Kenyan domestic workers had died in Saudi Arabia alone under unknown circumstances. Do you think this is something coincident? I don't think so. By October 2020, 473 women migrant workers in Middle East had died, and out of them 175 in Saudi Arabia alone. But remember, most of these women complain of torture, mistreatment, and itself. In Saudi Arabia, 70% of Filipino domestic workers complain of physical and psychological violence, which includes rape. Next time, if you're in a shopping mall and you see one beautiful Middle Eastern family walking around and a maid behind them, just know that is a maid. They are given those uniforms to remind them that you are a maid, you are not part of the family. And I believe this is the reason why these maids are treated bad. It's like UAE and Saudi Arabia, they have made rules and laws to protect the maids, but these laws are still not effective as these maids keep being mistreated.
I think one of the things that breaks my heart is the fact that most of these Middle Eastern countries are actually involved in destabilizing African countries, specifically to take their resources, but they are not just involved in that. They are involved in enslaving the African women and young men as well. And it's so sad, because when we are pointing fingers, it's so easy to pass Dubai. And that's why some friends of mine were like, oh, we can go to Dubai. And I'm like, because of the history that is tied to Dubai, I don't want to, waste my money and go there knowing what they have done and their contribution towards the, destabilization of countries like Sudan, and how literally millions of young Ugandans, young Kenyans, young African and Asian people literally lose their lives at the hands of these people, right? So why would I support a system like that? Now, I do have plans of visiting maybe more other countries that probably have a very evil history, but the purpose of me visiting is to look at some of the remains of what was stolen from us. Yeah, but when it comes to Dubai and the Middle East, I don't think they have anything kept. And to be honest, they are very brave and proud to hide it. And they don't want to talk about it. I mean, I think about 2 years ago, there's a documentary that came out. I think the documentary name is like a movie. I think it's a movie, Goat Life. If you haven't watched that movie, please go ahead and watch it because it will give you a clue of what happens in most of these countries. I watched it. I don't know if it was last year, but it probably was last year. I don't know when it came. I don't remember, but I watched it. That's all I can say. But a lot of people were in the comment section saying the Goat Life actually revealed this. And the crazy thing is people have been saying this. Documentaries by BBC and more other, media, outlets have covered and produced evidence that these things are happening, but for some reason they get swept under the rug. I hate this about the oppressors because they build walls around themselves that they seem to be too strong to be brought down, and that really breaks my heart. Now, I know that indeed a lot of people would like to blame the victims before they blame the oppressors, because people will be like, oh, why do you go there? Yeah, going there would not be a problem, especially if you know how to treat human beings. Is that how people that come to work in the United States get treated? Have their, body parts removed? Yeah, is that how it happens in the UK? For the most part, not. Is that how literally these people feeding you poor, like making you sleep with their, ridiculous pets, having to go through the realities of being assaulted and raped and like all these things, right? Like, this is not how it's supposed to be done. And I'm like, why don't these people get checked? Most of these countries, the developing countries, they lack opportunities. And to be honest, the reason as to why they leave their most beautiful countries, to go elsewhere is so that they are able to, take care of their families, watch their dreams grow, only for them to be returned in boxes. Yeah, so I think these are topics that need to be brought. We will keep using our voices. Hopefully, one day the world will, see the noise that we are making. But you saw the brother talking about what he talked about, and a lot of his people were actually, attacking him, telling him, no, this does not work, not forgetting the Arab slave trade that has been mentioned as well in here. For them, it's like in their blood. I have seen quite a lot of experiences of girls saying, like, they know what they be doing and they treat you exactly like a slave. And it's so sad that that is happening in 25 or in the 21st century. And again, I'm not gonna say or our governments and throw blames at them, because what do you expect from them if they are only puppets, and that's why you see leaders like Ibrahim Traore, they are targeting him because he doesn't want his people to befall the same, tragedies that are befalling the girls and boys that go to these countries to fend for their families. I see them every day. Every time you're going at the airport, they are veiled and all of that, and you only pray that those that go make it out. Make it out. Like, it's a matter of life, and like, these governments have put people in conditions where whether I die, I die. If I live, I live. And there you go. A lot of them, let's say, of course, there's quite so many young, naive people that don't know most of the things that get done. But if you watch the Goat Life, you will see how their businesses are conducted. You go there as someone who is probably looking for another job, and soon as you make it, the first thing to take from you is your passport. Yeah? That one is going to be taken away from you. Maga, it's just so traumatic for me to talk about these things, because These things are happening to my people, to everyday people that don't deserve to be going through this. But for this young man to bravely come out and call it out, I think it is amazing. And I feel like we are approaching a time where even majority of their own are going to start saying these things and they will expose it, which is going to be very beautiful because there's nobody that can fight them harder than their own people. Now, I know definitely, just like anybody else that fights your oppressor, you become the target. Of course, they will target them as well. But as long as their voices are put out there, I think it's the most important thing. And for our people, my message is always, I understand that the situations are hard, but I feel like we have quite a lot. Even if you were to visit or go work there, if you are capable of coming back, please don't spend all your life over there, right? Come back and make yourself a life, like make a life for yourself out here, because you can. Traveling will open your minds to see better opportunities and what you can do different in your own country, because most of the time it is the close-mindedness that stops people from, breaking out of the cycle. Opportunities is so sad. We cannot wait for governments to give those opportunities. You have somehow to create these opportunities. But slavery, modern day slavery, is real, even as I am talking. Yeah, I'm just gonna end there. Yeah, let me know what you think. But I think for people that want to spend their money in the Arab countries as tourists and all of that, I'd rather you put that money in the African system, because they don't value people like you. And I've said it over and over again. And a lot of people have also come out and be like, we are not valued there. And I feel like if we know we are not valued there, then why do we keep tying ourselves around them? Why do we keep wanting to prove a point to them, spending our money with them, knowing very well that they are the very same people that are making our countries unstable, making it so hard for our people to actually visit most of our countries. Anyway, I think that's it from me for today. See you in another amazing video. Until then, my name is Gracie. Love all of you. May God watch over you, protect you, especially if you are under the belly of the beast in these countries and you are watching me. My prayers goes out to you, because I know that indeed it is not that much easy. Yeah. See you later. Bye.